Lowe's is my new go-to destination for discovering the newest Craftsman products, including mechanics, tool sets, storage, and more, in-store and online, like the 120-tooth ratchet. It has a 3-degree arc swing that lets you loosen or tighten bolts with less movement in those hard-to-reach spots. Plus, comes in a gunmetal chrome finish that's not only sharp-looking, but it makes it corrosion-resistant. Pretty cool, right? Shop the new home of Craftsman today at lowes.com/footballers. That's lowes.com/footballers.
And Foot Clan, if you're planning on playing some DFS this weekend, you got to check out the Fantasy Footballers DFS podcast. Help get you ready for the weekend. And on top of that, our premium resource for daily fantasy is the Ultimate DFS Pass. All our picks, tons of cool options. Check it out, ultimatedfspass.com.
Hey, this is Kenyon Drake. You're listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers podcast, coming to you from Draft.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, yeah! Welcome into the podcast!
It's pretty good. I liked it.
That was my UFC voice.
Yeah, that was
It's time!
I like it. No, it's good. I'm a little under the weather today, so I just kind of threw it out there. I said, either of you open the show. And Mike took it. He ran with it.
Well, we thought the show opening should be good, so
Yeah.
Mike took it.
Yeah.
If I tried to give that little hoot and holler, everybody would stop listening by now.
Well, you would have started strong and then finished poorly.
Yep. There you go.
Just the way things go.
I feel like Jason would have hit him with a
Yes.
That's pretty good, too.
Tune in next episode.
Welcome in. It is Friday, September 14th. This is the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Mike, the Fantasy Hitman, Jason Moore. I am Andy Holloway. And we've got a lot to cover today. We have the second half of the Fantasy Forecast, all the injury news you need.
Big show.
Big show. Foot Clan Friday is today. We have, Daily Doses on the show. Jason's going to share some tales from yesterday.
Mistakes are made.
Part of this show, I mean, we've said it all along, it's a holistic approach to fantasy football. It is. There's a whole lot of interesting things that happen in individual leagues. And that's why when we look at trade offers or start sit decisions, we don't always tell you it's a universal thing. Yes, we have a start sit tool on the website, but that's not always the answer either. We want to equip you to make that decision yourself, because if you're playing the number one team in your league and you're an underdog and our start sit tool tells you to play Alex Smith over Pat Mahomes, but you recognize the fact that the highest upside is Pat Mahomes, you have to make a different decision for your league based on, your brain.
Right.
Makes sense? So I just want we'll get some story time from Jason here shortly, but it is Friday.
Foot Clan Friday.
And Friday means Foot Clan Friday, which means somebody wins a $55 gift card.
Jason's cackling.
This is
Good day?
Yeah, it's a great day.
Aaron Adams. Aaron Adams is one of our Foot Clan supporters at jointhefoot.com, and Aaron Adams has won a $55 gift card to shopballers.com. Congratulations. Thank you for your support. Thanks for keeping this podcast going.
Thanks, Aaron.
We appreciate you. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/thefantasyfootballers. Click that bell. Connect with Mike early on Sunday morning for the live stream before the games. Follow us on Twitter at the FFBallers. The website is thefantasyfootballers.com. So much going on. Let's start talking about this Thursday night football game and what conclusions, insights, fantasy things happened here. What did you guys take away from this game? Because I had a couple of things that jumped out to me, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts first.
My biggest takeaway was that the hopeful improvements. I remember coming into the season, one of the teams I was most hopeful for before they looked bad to me in preseason was the Bengals, because of some of the improvements they made on paper to their offensive line. And going up against a good Baltimore Ravens defensive line, I thought they held their own, and that is really telling for the future of Joe Mixon. That's one thing. Basically, the Bengals offense to me looked like what I hope it could be, which is not a world beater, but fantasy producing. That's what I think the Bengals could be this year.
Okay, I really like John Brown.
Yeah, my takeaway was going to be, I think John Brown is a startable flex guy every single week. He looks healthy. Joe Flacco
likes him.
Yes, regardless of how you feel about Joe Flacco, yes, there's going to be some errant passes, but the opportunity is there for John Brown. He is taking shots down the field, and so far we've back-to-back things have paid off for John Brown. 4 for 92 with a score, 10 targets for Mr. Johnny Brown.
10 targets for both him and Crabtree, but John Brown's targets are going to be a little bit further down the field, usually,
of course,
more valuable. And look, he's 28 years old. I mean, if you're in a dynasty league as well, I think John Brown could have a pretty bright future.
What'd you think of Tyler Boyd? 6 for 91 and a touchdown. Seemed to have a great chemistry with Andy Dalton. Clearly, Tyler Boyd is a better producing wideout than the John Ross truthers.
Well, he's playing ahead of him. John Ross is just, you're hoping for that one big play per week. I'm not necessarily moving Tyler Boyd into my weekly start consideration. I think this was a product of Andy Dalton. He caught fire, and they were able to rain down the touchdowns upon the Ravens.
Yeah, running backs, Joe Mixon, Alex Collins. On the Mixon side, he went off the field 2 different times for some right knee concerns, came back out both times. This was so that the world could see how much better that he was and is than Gio Bernard.
It wasn't just fantasy players for once, because the fantasy players, we are the ones who are always screaming at the television, get that bum off the field and get my guy back in there. The actual announcers to this game were low-key just crapping on Gio Bernard.
There's just such a difference.
Yeah.
It's TJ Yeldon to Leonard Fournette.
But
that's
how they would say, like, well, Gio's it's just a different game when Joe Mixon's out there, and like
it's the hard yards, it's the 3, 4, 5 extra yards at the end of a run. It's just such a difference with Joe Mixon on the field.
Speed when there's a hole, and he can just burn past someone. Yeah, absolutely.
Second straight game with 22 touches, I think.
Yeah, he is. It
wasn't a great fantasy day. He didn't score. He had a goal line opportunity, but 21 carries.
Yeah, it wasn't a great matchup. You weren't expecting him to be a top 5 guy, like last week against Indianapolis, but against a tough Baltimore Ravens D, or at least we thought.
Right.
Buffalo
thought they were a tough defense.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and Alex Collins didn't get the goal line carry. Javorius Allen took it. We told you, worry about Buck Allen, because I think I read somebody on Twitter, they said this is a vindictive offense. And what they mean by that is Alex Collins didn't get that goal line carry. He got one later. He got stuffed. He didn't get that one because he dropped the pass on the play before.
Right.
There's a vindictive – and then the week before, he fumbled and then was taken off the field.
Yeah.
So there is if Saquon does that, nobody cares. If Alex Collins does it, it's – let's teach him a lesson. That's what it seems to be right now. And that's concerning for fantasy owners.
Yeah, it is a little bit. But, I mean, the reality is Alex Collins is still the guy that you want there. I had tweeted last night that, look, we've been talking about Buck Allen, that he's going to be legitimately involved. He has goal line opportunities. I don't think he's talented, but his opportunity is fantasy relevant.
He's in the NFL, Jason.
Well, I'm talented
relative
to other fantasy relevant running backs. But this is a 2-back situation where I believe that you're going to, on the course of the season, be able to play both backs. People are like, oh, is it Buck Allen now? No, it's still Alex Collins. He's still
Game
letting
script wasn't good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you had 3 touchdowns in the first half to A.J. Green that kind of changed things up, and then the pass-catching back, which is Buck Allen over Alex Collins, was on the field a little bit more. They each had a goal line carries, just one got in, one didn't. So this is a 2-back situation where I think you are going to be able to play both.
Brooks?
Yes. Yes, Andy.
Sometimes we like to have like a guest analysis, and I wanted you to speak to A.J. Green's performance last night.
Oh,
A.J. Green, good.
Okay.
yeah.
Nice one. It's not.
I played Brooks in the old Dynasty League.
Yeah, it's not often that on a Thursday night you can know that you've already lost the weekend.
But first quarter.
Yeah, and by the end of the first quarter, I have, like many people, multiple leagues where you're frantically searching, going, oh, please, 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 please. No! And we're playing for week 3.
Yeah, on the flip side, if you got him, you're pretty happy.
Yes.
That's his first 3-touchdown game ever.
Which is insane.
In 3 catches, yeah.
Yeah, Brooks was covering his eyes every time that Andy Dalton had the ball. I mean, this was a good and bad performance by Andy Dalton. He was on fire to start this game. I mean, the Red Rifle himself was torching this defense that people thought. I'm sure people started Baltimore this week after last week's performance.
Yeah, certainly.
And then
would have.
Here comes Andy Dalton with 4 first-half touchdowns.
Do you
Mr. Red?
Do you still consider the Ravens' defense to be a hold and continue to start in medium to plus matchups?
Yeah, of course.
I do too.
Yeah, no, this was just
said.
Yeah, no, I think they're a good defense. They turned it on in the second half. They gave up 6 points, 2 field goals the rest of the game. They almost came back and won this game, but they got boat raced in the beginning. So, without further ado, let's talk injuries.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
In or out quarterbacks? Aaron Rodgers?
In.
Oh, certainly.
And then for those who are new to the show, this is where we are projecting if they are going to play.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers?
I believe he will play.
Big Ben?
In.
Yes.
Marcus Mariota?
In.
All right, let's go to the running backs. We had some news this morning. Leonard Fournette, what do you think is going to happen with Leonard Fournette?
I don't think he's going to play. He's a game-time decision. They're saying the right things that, he might play because you don't want them to be able to scheme for him to be out of the game. But I don't think that Fournette plays.
I lean that he's out as well.
David Johnson?
In.
Devonta Freeman?
Oof.
This one's tough.
Yeah. See if he practices today. Because he has not practiced yet, and that's fine for a veteran. But if they miss Friday, that's a pretty key indicator of how things are going for the weekend.
Rex Burkhead?
He'll play, I think.
Yeah, he was progressing through the concussion protocol. Should be in.
Sony Michel?
I believe he'll play, but will be eased in.
Agreed.
What about Darren Sproles? And if he doesn't play, is Cory Clement a play?
Yeah, I mean, if Sproles doesn't play, they're not a one-back system in Philadelphia. Cory Clement should be in.
Cory Clement versus Philip Lindsay this week if Sproles is out. Asking for a friend.
That's a great question, and I'm going to chase the points with Lindsay.
Marlon Mack, in or out?
In.
DeAndre Hopkins?
Oh, come on. He's playing.
In.
Will Fuller?
He's back in limited practice. He's interesting, but Coach Bill O'Brien says he feels confident that Will Fuller's going to play, so I'm going to say in.
Devontae Adams?
In.
Yep.
Corey Davis, hamstring. Limited Wednesday and Thursday.
In.
I think he's in as well. Ted Ginn?
Yeah,
in, of course.
Veteran.
What about Marquise Goodwin with the quad injury? Hasn't practiced.
I don't think he's going to play, and this becomes a very sneaky snart situation for Dante Pettis.
I agree with you. Marquise Goodwin, we just did. Desean Jackson?
He's limited Thursday. I'm going to say out, but that's that.
Yeah, I don't have a good read on that one.
Doug Baldwin?
Out.
Yeah, Doug Baldwin's likely to miss this week, maybe more. Austin Seferian-Jenkins?
In. He was dealing with the same injury before week 1 and played.
All right, a reminder, everybody over at Join the Foot, you get game day alerts 1 hour before the main Sunday kickoff with the up-to-the-minute injury news so you don't miss nothing, so you can start the right guys. I made an interesting trade yesterday going into the got me some Doug Baldwin.
In your Dynasty League.
In the Dynasty League. Some injured Doug Baldwin.
A lot of trades yesterday.
Well, let's get into that.
Storytime with Jason.
Guys, I made a mistake. I've got bad news to share. And it's good. Look, this is advice for you at home on how to troll and how not to troll. Let's see if your jokes are funny or good or if they just hurt yourself. So yesterday in the Listener League, I have Le'Veon Bell, so I'm dealing with what all Le'Veon Bell owners are dealing with. What do? Do you find a way to pair him with James Conner? Well, the James Conner owner did what he should do, and he said, hey, I'll give you James Conner for Joe Mixon. And I'm thinking, no way am I trading Joe Mixon, a guy I love, for James Conner. He'd be helpful, but that just wouldn't help my team. But I was desperate. After Joe Mixon, it was Jordan Wilkins on my roster, so I go, okay, here. This says I'm going to do it. I offered Lev Bell.
You're bailing out.
For Jordan Howard to the James Conner owner, and he accepted. Part of this was my dynasty team. I've got Joe Mixon and Jordan Howard. These are two of my favorite guys, putting my money where my mouth is, and then it's nice to have both leagues. I got the same guys to root for. That's fun, whatever. So the trade goes through, and I'm sitting there, and I look at my roster. I'm putting my guys in the lineup, and I see that the other trade for James Conner is still there. He didn't cancel it. And so I'm going, I'm gonna get him good. I'm gonna steal James Conner from him right after I get Lev Bell. I think it's way funnier than it is.
And to your credit, you announced to the room, to the office, you said, guys, this trade is still here. Would it be funny if I just accepted this trade, trying to troll him for not canceling the trade?
Right, and I said beforehand, I go, I'm going to undo this in like 2 minutes. It's just a joke. I'll just let him sit in it for a second.
He literally walked out of our office cackling.
Oh, no, he ruffled.
Yeah. He ruffled.
He went down.
I thought it was the funniest thing in the world because the guy trades for Le'Veon Bell, and I'm like, I took your James Conner. And so I'm rolling around laughing. I get back to my computer. I'm having a good time. And then I realize what I have done. I traded Joe Mixon for James Conner.
Because you thought it was a funny joke.
I thought it was a funny joke, and I went, oh, no. What if he wants to if he's like, cool, thanks. Well, guess what?
He was
pretty happy with me accepting that. So now we just flip-flopped running backs.
Idiot.
Look, and that's on me. If you are the troll and you get beat, you accept responsibility.
So this is not getting undone. You are now
undone. I now own James Conner.
You've made your bed.
And I am anti-Le'Veon Bell.
Wow.
Stay out, Lev. Keep those legs fresh for next year.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
But you are the back-to-back Listener League champion, and things tend to work out. So we're taking this as a premonition that apparently Connor's just going to play for 10 weeks.
Yeah, it's 16.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we are going to jump into the rest of the fantasy forecast. If you missed any of the matchups from yesterday, you can go back and listen. It's amazing. You just click the previous episode.
Oh.
You can listen to any of our previous episodes.
No.
And it was such a good episode.
It was actually a very funny episode yesterday, yes. Before we do that, I want to thank a new sponsor, Lightstream. Have you ever looked at your credit card statement and been shocked by one of those ridiculous interest rates? What Lightstream does is it lets you roll your credit card debt into one monthly payment at a lower fixed rate. Lightstream believes that people with good credit deserve a great interest rate and no fees. In fact, they specialize in this. They offer credit card consolidation loans from 5.89% APR with auto pay that is lower than the average credit card interest rate of over 18%. And you can get a loan from Lightstream for $5,000 to $100,000. I know they specialize in things like adoption loans. You know, this is something that our family adopted. A lot of families that do private adoption, you need a loan. And you can get funds same day with Lightstream. And now our listeners can get a special discount to their rate on top of their already low rates. And the only way to get that discount is to go to lightstream.com/footballers. That's lightstream.com/footballers. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes a 0.5% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply. And offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/footballers for more information.
We'd like to thank FanDuel for sponsoring today's show. You already know this, but football season is underway. That's why we are excited to be talking about FanDuel this season. With FanDuel, you get the excitement of researching and building your team each week. Every week is a new season. Regardless of the outcome, you get to do it all over again. FanDuel has never been more fun or easy. It's the place to play if you're not a fantasy expert. They have something for everyone. There are more ways to win than ever before, like their Gridiron Pick'em contest every week. It's a free contest. All you do, you pick the winners, no spreads, and $10,000 split amongst the top pickers. What's awesome about FanDuel, say last week, like Andy, he had the hunch that he wants under Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, but they're not on your team. You get the enjoyment of playing them.
It's very fun.
You get the enjoyment of
Love
playing
the
them
stack.
regardless. So new users are going to get a $20 bonus when they make their first deposit on FanDuel. Come play with us at FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers. That's FanDuel.com/fantasyfootballers.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right, we're back in the matchups, and, let's start here. The Texans and the Titans. This game's in Tennessee. We expect Marcus Mariota to be there. The line is Titans +2 with 44.5-point over-under. What are we looking for in this game? I know a lot of Deshaun Watson owners were disappointed. I had somebody on Twitter. They said, you told me to play Deshaun Watson over Pat Mahomes last week. You ruined me. That's what they said. We ruined him. I took a look on Fantasy Pros. 133 out of 135 experts recommended Deshaun Watson last week.
We should have been the two.
And the truth is 133 were wrong. So, Deshaun Watson in week 2.
Deshaun Watson in week 2, look, he's a guy that, because of his rushing ability, should be a fine start. He had in my opinion, film-wise, I think he had a terrible game last week. I don't think he looked great in any capacity, but he didn't, destroy your team. I think the Titans are a mid-level defense here, and he's someone you should be able to fire up. He also was lacking Will Fuller, who we expect to be there this week, which will help open things up for Hopkins. And
Will Fuller is a big deal for this offense in Watson.
Yeah, certainly. So if you drafted Watson, you're going to start him this week almost for sure.
And we know that Watson annihilated Tennessee, 5 total touchdowns.
Last year.
Yes. Yeah, last year.
Not in the future, like you can't see that already? Because that'd be nice.
Maybe.
That'd be pretty cool.
Maybe. So it's Lamar Miller, you're playing him. Hopkins, you're playing him. Bruce Ellington has that sneaky start. I don't know if
– Is that only sneaky if Will Fuller's out?
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. I'm not real interested in Bruce if Will Fuller is playing. The biggest question for this game is really Dion Lewis, Derrick Henry.
Now, did you hear the news?
No.
Big news. Derrick Henry is –
Huey Lewis sized?
Huey Lewis sized news. Derrick Henry is, quote, pissed about his performance last week.
Guess what, Derrick Henry?
Join the club!
I am also pissed at your performance last week because I needed you to come through with some more points. But they're at home, and they're favored. This sets up, or at least projects, to be very positive for Derrick Henry, but it's still the Houston Texans.
They're not favored.
They're not. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they're +2.
The Titans are 2-point underdogs at home.
So swap what I just said. And
it's good they're at home, but yeah, this game, I think Houston's going to win it.
So this is trouble for Derrick Henry. He was my pump the brakes for a reason. I'm only interested as Henry as a running back 3 this week.
I agree, and the biggest problem with Derrick Henry is there has to be like 3 or 4 sentences ahead of saying to play him.
Yeah, that's a problem.
You have to say a bunch of conditions in which you like starting Derrick Henry. Dion Lewis, listen to this. Highest yards per rush in 2017 in between the tackles at 5.6. He's a great running back. Showed it last week. All you have to do is open your eyes.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I like both running backs. I would be fine starting. This is one of those games where I don't think you have to pick one, and it comes at the mutual exclusivity of the other having a fantasy-relevant game. Again, last week, if that one penalty was not called that did not affect Derrick Henry having a 60-yard touchdown, everything would be completely different. And our Houston – their defense and their defensive line should be great, but it's been a while since they've really been one of the absolute toughest matchups against the run. So at home, I like Derrick Henry. I've said from draft season, Dion Lewis is greater sign than Derrick Henry because he's game script proof. And should Deshaun Watson go full ham and eggs and throw 5 touchdowns, you won't be seeing Derrick Henry. So that's the risk. But otherwise, if this is a somewhat close game, as Vegas sees it, they're at home. I think both guys will be relevant, and I see them both as, running back that 2-3 cusp.
Give me all the eggs and bacon that you have. Give me all of them. The Colts, 0-1, take on the 1-0 Redskins. An impressive performance from the Redskins last week. They're 6-point home favorites, 46.5-point over-under. Andrew Luck hits the road here. Played okay last week, played well. This was a close game. They lost to the Bengals. The Redskins, I like their defense in this game. They're at home. They played well last week. I picked them up. I'm starting them this week.
Major favorites at home.
Yeah, I love it. And they showed up in a big way last week. Obviously, Josh Norman and company. So, what are our fantasy expectations from Andrew Luck, T.Y. Hilton? We saw a high target count for Ryan Grant, wide receiver, in his debut for Indianapolis last week. And then the two tight ends, Ebron with the score, Doyle with the targets. And you have a hairy situation at running back. If Marlon Mack plays, Jordan Wilkins, Wilkins was already a meh play.
Yeah, right.
And he's a nah play if
yeah,
Mack
completely agree. The only running back I would consider playing for the Colts is if I'm in a PPR format, Nyheim Hines, who was heavily involved, and I expect he will be heavily involved even with the return of Marlon Mack because they want to use him as that passing down specialist.
Man, that takes a lot of belief. I mean, I realize he was involved that one game where Marlon Mack wasn't there, but I'm not touching a single Colts running back.
Yeah, I'm fine going completely hands off. But if I have to pick one, that's the one I'm going to pick.
No interest in Mack, Wilkins, Hines, and Michael.
Not from me. I want to see what the breakdown is of carries. More than likely, they're not just going to – let's say they were going to have Marlon Mack be the true leader, 65% market share. And they're not going to do that this week.
Well, and let's find out before we throw him in there.
There's no reason to play him. I've benched all my Colts running backs. The other running backs, I'll take both of them.
Yeah, 2 starts of the week. My start of the week is Adrian Peterson. Jason's is Chris Thompson. Listen, the Colts have allowed 10.4 yards per reception to running back since the start of last season. That is worst in the National Football League, and Chris Thompson looked electric last week.
Yeah, it's a perfect match. He leads the league in yards per reception from running back,
right.
So watch out.
The math adds up there. So we're starting both running backs for Washington. We're starting Jordan Reed. We're starting Alex Smith. But are we taking a chance with any of these wideouts? Because last week Alex Smith showed you what he does. He takes what the defense gives him. Last week it wasn't a lot of Crowder, Doxson, or Richardson.
It's really hard to go in on any Washington wide receiver until we're really hoping that someone separates himself from the pack. But that was the concern all offseason. Does anyone have the ability to do that? Everyone kind of picked their favorite guy, and we're only one game in, but no one's looking even close to breaking out from this core.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a good idea to take the gamble. And the truth is, even if next week it looks like it's Crowder or it looks like it's Doxson or it looks like it's Richardson, I doubt that it's just consistent as time goes on. Until Jordan Reed gets injured, which inevitably will happen, I'm sticking all of my pass-catching duties to Jordan Reed and Chris Thompson. Those are the main receiving options for Washington. I'm staying away from the wide receivers. I'm a little worried, Andy, about the Washington defense. I don't quite have the same confidence solely because of Andrew Luck. He didn't look perfect last week, but he still looked good. 2 touchdowns, 300 yards, and
it's just going to be tough because T.Y. Hilton, that number one weapon, you got the Josh Norman factor in that secondary, and they're at home. And I just think that they came out and really impressed me last week, and so I feel confident enough. I get that, though. It's never a fun thing to start a defense against a quarterback that has the potential to light up the scoreboard or even light up the yardage numbers in garbage time if that was the case. So I get that, but the defensive options are kind of a struggle.
Yes, this is a hard week.
Right now. So, by the way, some breaking news. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution just reported that Devonta Freeman is not expected to play week 2 against the Panthers.
Man, that seems like that should have had a drop.
Oh, you mean like this?
Breaking news.
What is it?
Play Tevin Coleman.
Yes.
That's the breaking news.
I feel like even though I'm in control of all the drops over here, I feel like Brooks should have one of those, like a big, easy button style breaking news drop on his side.
Yeah, that would be
because then
awesome.
he breaks into the show
I was
with the
imagining
breaking
him
news.
with a 15-foot-long pointer.
Oh, he reaches all the way from over there?
That has a finger, and also just
If that
we
thing-
see it slide into the frame.
That would be
and he's
really,
just jabbing at buttons.
really, really funny. Or this hand that comes up from under the desk, he crawls in.
That's
Brooks,
pretty creepy.
Both
too.
of those options are open to you. You are welcome to figure those out.
You pick which one you'd like.
It's just
Start
hitting
your
Andy in the
Tevin
face.
Coleman.
Absolutely,
He's going to be.
absolutely. That's what's built into Tevin Coleman. He has some flex appeal when both of these running backs are playing, and then if Devonta Freeman misses time, Tevin Coleman has the ability and the opportunity to be a monster. The matchup's not the greatest against the Carolina Panthers, but I would still start him with full confidence.
Okay. All right. Well, we need to talk about our
Speaking of lack of confidence,
Arizona Cardinals take on the Rams in Los Angeles. The Rams are 13-point favorites in this game. 45-point over-under. The Cardinals are not expected to score based on those numbers. They weren't expected to score last week by game plan, apparently. I mean, Bradford and DJ and Larry Fitzgerald, they didn't get it done. This season could be rough. This season could be tough. The saving grace here is, look, David Johnson, he had lots of red zone opportunity last week.
Yeah, David Johnson's still fine.
And the Rams gave up the second most fantasy points to running backs last year. That was where they gave up some yardage. They didn't have Ndamukong Suh in the middle of their defense.
It's a little different of a
little
defense.
different, but at the end of the day, that secondary is so strong. This is why I like Ricky Seals-Jones in this game. I figure the game script means the Cardinals are going to be down on the road, gaining garbage time yardage, and Ricky Seals-Jones will benefit. David Johnson will benefit from that. I just hope that this game doesn't turn into last week where you saw too much Chase Edmonds at the end of it because the game was out of hand.
How do you feel about the Rams wide receivers? Because maybe this was just Alex Smith handling his offense, but they did nothing. The wide receivers did nothing against the Arizona Cardinals. They have Patrick Peterson, who I don't think he's going to shadow anymore. He may, but Brandon Cooks, what's your confidence level in Brandon Cooks taking on Patrick Peterson?
I wrote him a love letter last night. That's my feeling.
Really?
Yeah, I'm delivering it today. I love Brandon Cooks. I've targeted him in every league. I loved everything I saw on the field this week included.
Because Brandon Cooks has shown that when he's up against number one corners, he vanishes.
Brandon Cooks will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's my feeling.
I think all three wide receivers will be fine. I do tend to take when the Rams or any kind of three heavy wide receiver groups go up against a dominant corner, I look for that number 2. So Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods actually has a great game.
Did you see that? I don't know what channel's doing it now where they're showing the formation and all the players on every play. Did you see this?
Yes.
I think it was Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting because that's a very informative thing for fantasy owners. 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end. It'll say it right on the screen, and then it'll show the player names for each one. It's a fantasy football awareness thing.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So last year,
it's 100% our fault.
Last year, Cooper Kupp had no fewer than 51 yards against Arizona. He had a game of 5 for 68, a game of 4 for 51 with a touchdown. Which you're gonna, of course, you're hoping for more than 50 yards for fantasy, but guys that you drafted to play as your wide receiver 3, 5 for 50 is, I'll take it.
What are you doing with King Goffrey himself here at home? Are you playing King Goffrey against the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think you should. The Cardinals defense, it did not show that it's any kind of great defense this last week at home with the weapons and with Sean McVay. If you haven't seen the Sean McVay video of him just naming specific plays from random years,
pretty amazing.
His memory is unbelievable. He's a great coach. They're going to be prepared for the Cardinals, and I don't give the Cardinals a chance in this game. Neither does Vegas. This is why I've pumped the brakes on Larry Fitzgerald. Last year when Larry went to the Los Angeles Rams, He had 3 for 29 on 3 targets.
Well, last year, the Rams outscored Arizona 65-16 in both games.
It's going to be ugly. I hate it. Let's move on. The Lions, the 49ers. This is my...
Andy's almost upset of the week.
I don't understand this line. I don't. I double-checked it. This was a jump off the page, almost upset for me. The 49ers are 6-point home favorites in this game against the Lions. I know the Lions looked bad last week. The 49ers didn't look special. Goodwin might not be on the field. I think that this is a layup, almost upset of the week for me. So I have the Lions winning this ball game.
Ooh.
And I have Kerryon Johnson playing a big part in that. Jason doing okay over there. The electricity, the versatility of Kerryon Johnson will help this offense get moving. Matthew Stafford and company last week was ugly, but Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, and Golden Tate are 3 dynamic pass catchers. I think it turns around this week. I really do. Look, I have good expectations for Garoppolo in this game and Kittle, but I think it's a dogfight. I think it comes down to the wire, and I think the Lions walk away with the win. What do you guys think about the fantasy storylines in this game?
Matthew Stafford will have to play better than he did last week. I mean,
thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
That's stunning analysis.
Stunning analysis. Look, the reality, what I'm saying here is that it wasn't just to me that the Jets called their play signs. It wasn't, that they were down and they knew that they were passing. Matthew Stafford looked bad on his throw, similar to Matt Ryan week 1, where it was like, what's going on with him? He doesn't have the zing. He doesn't have the zip. Maybe that's just a week 1 thing.
He was also pretty beat up.
Yes, he left the game and
hobbled
and came back
times.
in. But the offense as a whole, you still have to believe in because you've got enough experience to watch. The defense, I don't believe in yet for Detroit. So this is where I think Vegas gets the line of at home, Jimmy Garoppolo, putting on a show against the Lions defense that I have not bought in on.
And I get it. Let's put these Lions wide receivers in order of fantasy value this week. I have it Jones, Tate, Golladay. What do you got, Mike?
I will go Tate, Jones, Golladay, but that's they're difficult to rank because they have such specialties, in my opinion, where Marvin Jones, he is very effective. When Kenny Golladay is on the field, he scores fewer fantasy points. It's just how it is. It's the deep shot, though, because Marvin Jones has the highest upside of any of these wide receivers. It's just, will he hit on the 1 or 2 opportunities he gets when Stafford goes deep?
People want to know, do they start Matt Breida or Alfred Morris?
Both.
Yeah, I agree. It's ironic. I feel like this is the first week I can remember where there are several teams where I would start both starting running backs, whether it was the Ravens or the Redskins or here or Tennessee. I would start both of them. You've got the goal line opportunities with Alf that should be good at home in a favored matchup, and you have the pass catching role.
You like that one? You like that one reception?
It was infinitely more than Alfred Morris's.
Touché.
Well, if you want to know why I overspent for George Kittle's last 3 games in half-point PPR, going back to last year and through this year, he was the tight end 7, the tight end 2, and the tight end 6. I spent on the hope that we've got ourselves a tight end 2 through 5 here somewhere for the course of the season. George Kittle should benefit from no Marquise Goodwin as well. It should be interesting. Also, Darius Slay and company is going to be, he's going to be locked in on somebody. You saw Robbie Anderson struggle. Even though the Jets were great, Robbie Anderson had a single target last week matched up with Darius Slay. I think that George Kittle's the beneficiary there, and maybe it is Matt Breida as well.
Yeah, certainly. And we also mentioned it, Dante Pettis. If Goodwin is out, Dante Pettis will need to be used. He's a fast guy. I loved him out of college. And one of those skills that translates to the NFL and to fantasy that we've seen is successful special teams returners in college tend to be able to get it done in the open field in the NFL.
They just take like 8 years like Ted Ginn.
And Dante Pettis was one of the best all time.
Right.
He's impressive. And the play he made in the back of the end zone last week, Certainly caught my eye, Jason.
Good. Who has him in our dynasty league?
Oh, great.
You going to play him?
Probably.
Why don't you troll trade him to me?
Oh, man. I hate my life.
The Raiders at 0-1 take on the Broncos. 1-0. Broncos are 6-point home favorites. I'm going to take the Broncos in this one. 48-point over-under. If this game goes real bad for Oakland, which it might, Derek Carr doesn't do well under pressure, and if there's one thing the Broncos do, it's bring pressure. If it goes sideways, this is looking a lot like a rebuilding year for Oakland. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what that'll translate to, but confidence in the Oakland offense in this week, where does it lie? I mean, you're not starting Derek Carr on the road. You're probably hesitant about Amari Cooper and Jordy Nelson at best. And then you had the big Jared Cook performance. So I think most people that paid for Jared Cook in waivers are starting him.
Him. Denver gave up the third most fantasy points to the tight end last year.
Yeah, that's true.
You're playing Jared Cook.
So Cook is in.
Jordy Nelson is out. He didn't look great on the field, didn't do anything special to the tune where they're bringing in Martavis Bryant. And now this is a tough matchup. So there's no chance I'm playing Jordy Nelson. The real question here comes down to Amari Cooper. And I expect a really bad game from Amari Cooper. I mean, this is a bad matchup, but it's always when you have finally benched Cooper that he goes off. So he's just the most dangerous man in fantasy.
Yeah, he's a hot potato.
Don't get stuck holding him.
Yeah.
That's pretty true.
And Marshawn, I don't like the game script. I don't like being on the road and being a 6-point dog, but I'm still willing to play Marshawn Lynch.
Last week, 14.9 fantasy points given up to the running back position. They faced Chris Carson and Rashad Penny last week. Pretty good performance from the Broncos defense in that respect. So it could be tough sledding if Lynch is sharing time and they're on the comeback trail in this game.
Yeah, if I can do without Lynch in my lineup, I would. I mean, I know 2 years ago this great defense was really susceptible to running backs, but as soon as Wade Phillips went to the Los Angeles Rams last year, they were lights out against running back. I would prefer in a game script where I think they're going to be winning with a good run D to avoid Marshawn.
What do you make of 9 receptions from Jalen Richard last week? 9 receptions for 55 yards. Kind of interesting that
He didn't touch the ball in the first or the third quarter. He's a
fan of the even numbers.
If they do get boat raced, then Jalen Richard,
he'll do the Buck Allen treatment of yesterday.
Jalen Richard, I don't believe, is supposed to be an integral part of this. He became the pass catching running back in the comeback effort last week, but I don't believe that he is the passing downs guy. They want to use Krampus, a.k.a. Doug Martin. I don't know why they insist on playing him, but they want to use him. Marshawn is the main guy, so I'm not banking on it happening again.
Mike, you're starting Royce Freeman as your start of the week.
I'm starting plenty of
Keenum,
Broncos.
Freenham.
Yep.
Freenham, yes. Keenum and Freenham.
Case Keenum, Royce Freeman.
Philip Lindsay.
Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders are all guys that I'm absolutely starting, and I'm comfortable playing Philip Lindsay. It's hard to argue with the volume that they gave him week 1, and it wasn't like this was a super negative game script for the Denver Broncos. We'll see if Lindsay, who weighs $185 or 190, we'll see if he can hold up to that.
Patriots, Jags, both 1-0. Games in Jacksonville, 45-point over-under. You've got the drama of Jalen Ramsey going up against Gronk Smash, Rob Gronkowski. Look, you can have all the bravado in the world. They don't make you 6'6", 240. That's my take on that matchup. I don't care how high you can jump. That man will box you out. Nobody's sitting Rob Gronkowski. We don't need to talk about that. But Tom Brady, look, this is a tough matchup. Going on the road, it's a 45-point over-under. Chris Hogan was a disaster last week for fantasy owners.
Yes.
Philip Dorsett flashed a little bit. But, look, you can't have great expectations for Hogan again this week. It was a big swing and a miss as the start of the week last week. I felt like I finally gave him a little bit of respect. I mean,
I've been
anti-Hogan. Yeah, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump in. And you let me down, Chris. You let me down big time. But look, where's your confidence? I think James White is the safest bet for fantasy production on this whole offense.
100%. You don't know. So let's say that Rex Freeman passes concussion protocol as
Rex Freeman. What is with
Rex
you guys
Burkhead,
in the word Freeman?
I think you mean Freenham.
Thank you, Andy. Passes concussion protocol, and Sony Michel makes his debut. It's going to be a really murky situation there for running backs. I don't want to start either of them, but I agree with Andy. James White is a guy that, they're going to have to figure out how to beat. I mean, and they're going to figure it out because they're the stupid Patriots. How to beat this Jacksonville defense. And James White is a weapon that can be used in all sorts of different ways, schemed, moved around the formation. And if you're in any kind of PPR league, I'm totally fine starting James White.
Tom Brady threw for 290 and 2 against this Jacksonville defense in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you have Brady, you're starting Brady.
That was going to be my question. So
I'd rather play Big Ben.
Yes.
I'd rather play Drew Brees.
Well, of course, but
you don't have both. Would you play Tyrod on the road in New Orleans over Tom Brady?
Right now, I have Tyrod ahead of Tom Brady. I've got Brady at 14.
I think the floor for Brady is low in this game. I think that's the problem. He can throw for 290 and 2, right?
Absolutely.
But the 100%. Floor is like 200 and none.
But here's the reality: I'm not dropping any somewhat valuable player on my roster to pick up Tyrod to play over Brady. To roster two quarterbacks. So if I've got Brady, I'm not telling you go out, drop someone, and pick up Tyrod. If you've got a garbage roster spot, someone got injured, you don't even sure, drop them and pick them up. But you're probably going to end up rolling Brady. But yeah, Pat Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, Alex Smith, Phillip Rivers, Big Ben. Those are players that I would start over Tom Brady due to the matchup.
All right, last week the Patriots defense held up against DeAndre Hopkins and company. Now you look at this wide receiver core from Jacksonville, Blake Bortles, throwing to Keelan Cole, Dante Moncrief, who did not look good, D.D. Westbrook. Confidence level at the wide receiver position, would you start Keelan Cole this week? He was 3 for 54 last week.
Yeah.
He looked like the best pass-catching option.
Yeah, if I'm starting anyone, it's Keelan Cole. Keelan Cole is the only one. Oh, I guess maybe Dede. But no, I'm not really. You're
not excited.
I'm not excited to play any of these guys.
TJ Yeldon could get the start.
He's the only one I want to play.
Corey Grant?
What? Did you see we got some more hype we got more Corey Grant hype this week. His coach wants to use him more.
If Fournette's out, Corey Grant should get some play.
Yes. It's more of how many times does the coach of a football team need to say, man, I really want to use Corey Grant more. I really want to do it. So do it.
Yeah, TJ Yeldon.
Make it happen.
He's a DFS dart throw.
Sure,
Corey Grant is a DFS dart throw.
He'll be very cheap, but TJ Yeldon is the player I want to play the most. Obviously, that comes only when Fournette is out. I feel like I'd rather play TJ Yeldon than Fournette if Fournette is playing because I worry I don't expect Fournette to play, but if he does, look, you can't. There's no treatment you can give a hamstring to stop it from ripping. Like that, rest is the only cure for a hamstring injury.
What about that fire extinguisher I see him use in soccer?
Yeah, I think that. I feel like that would be a Terminator 2 situation.
Well, I don't know what it's called.
Where you
liquid nitrogen.
Yeah. That's not good for the hamstring, Mike. He would just shatter it, just explode all over the field. Career is over.
I can just see Mike on the sideline trying to help somebody out. He grabs the fire extinguisher, starts spraying the hamstrings down.
Trust me, I've seen this on television.
That's right.
I'm a doctor.
All right, I wish that was the Sunday Night Football game, but we get the Giants and the Cowboys on Sunday night. This is a 42-point over-under.
Hooray!
Ew. At least we get to see Saquon in primetime. But Eli, Saquon, Beckham, Ingram bounced back in this game?
I believe so. I'm still fully willing to start him. I saw a lot of questions filling up my timeline saying, Ingram's available. Would you pick him up?
Yes.
Yeah, you're darn right I would pick up Evan Ingram. We talked about the two huge just missed opportunities. And part of watching the games on Sunday is you're looking for those actual missed opportunities. Because if you're just looking at a box score, 2 for 30, this guy stinks, not realizing he was a butt hair away from being 4 for 75.
90% of the snaps on offense for Evan Ingram last week.
Yeah, he's
90%.
And he's a good player.
Yeah, if him and George Kittle were both on the waiver wire, I think I would try to get Ingram higher.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I've spent too much on George Kittle.
I have no fab left.
I have no choice. Let's look for a moment at – look, you're starting Beckham, you're starting Barkley. So if you're wondering why we didn't talk about him, it's because of that. But let's look at Dak. I mean, last year the Giants defense, they gave up 32 touchdown passes. That's the most in the NFL. So Dak needs to throw to somebody.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he has anybody to throw to. Unless he throws underneath the Beasles, and that is a look. I don't want the Beasles this week.
No,
I don't. It's not good for anybody.
Well, no one wants the Beasles. You just have to accept that.
How does the fire extinguisher work on the Beasles? Does it put them out?
It's inadequate.
When Cole Beasley is, really impactful for the game. When Cole Beasley is,
Ron Weasley, when he is a leading target in your offense, you had a bad day. Dak has a bad day. There's no great fantasy production. And if
you know who had a good day then?
Who?
Cole Beasley?
Yes, that's the only guy that had a
7 for 73. Are we going to ignore this?
No, we've talked about it in a PPR.
We are
in a full PPR league. But I mean, maybe you would flex him. Outside of that, I said I would be willing to drop, not just not play, drop every single Cowboys wide receiving option, every single Cowboys tight end option, even the several dozen touch Tavon Austin, who I think got 2 touches.
Oh,
that was terrible. And look.
That was fantastic.
Playing Cole Beasley is the equivalent of Chinese water torture. You just get drip. After 5 or 6,
dripping on those PPR points.
Yeah,
on
after
your
5 or
opponent.
6 drips, it's just annoying. I don't even want it.
I would play
I don't
him.
need 9 points.
I would definitely start him in a 3 PPR league.
Yeah, that's not 9 points. That's 14.
If you get
3 point per reception.
Yeah, if I get 3 points per reception, I highly recommend Cole Beasley.
Look, every year we have the same Beasley talks. They're the same talks all the time.
Yes, and they're worthless. Go back. They're worthless. We're anti-Beasles here because, look, you can go back and look at a week-by-week, the consistency charts that are available if you're at Join the Foot.
Give me Ryan
Look at
Grant.
their week-by-week performances, and Cole Beasley is 90% unusable in fantasy. And we've had these conversations. This is not like...
But there's no Jason Witten. There's no Des Bryant.
Play him, Mike. But
I don't play full PPR. But I'm saying Cole Beasley is...
It's against my constitution. I don't do it.
You're playing him at the 3 spot. And we just talked about the Jags wide receiver. So in a PPR, D.D. Westbrook or Cole Beasley?
Cole Beasley.
Okay, D.D. Westbrook in a PPR...
sorry. No, I was thinking in my head Keelan Cole. No, Dede over. I would take Dede over Cole Beasley. I would take Keelan Cole over Cole Beasley. Too many Coles here. I feel like a minor. That's all right. I'm gonna need that because that was terrible. My bad.
Just a reminder. Cole Beasley outscored both of those guys in PPR format.
I realize that his floor is higher than either of those, but I don't care about the few points that I can get if I have no upside.
It's like a TV dinner. He'll get the job done, but you don't want to eat it.
I kind of really love Salisbury Steaks TV dinners, so bad analogy.
Brooks, what's up?
So we can just call him a desperation play. And
Brooks wants us to move on. That's what that means right there. Monday Night Football, the Seahawks and the Bears in Chicago. The Bears are 3.5-point favorites at home in this game. It's not an easy start to the season for Russell Wilson. He doesn't have Doug Baldwin in this matchup. He doesn't have a lot of pass-catching weapons. Look at Will Disley, who played a very small amount of snaps, by the way, last week. One of the reasons why you really can't stay in those flames because they're not that nice.
The only way, Will Disley, you're happy that you spend fab and you're happy that you play him. Only way you're happy is if the moose gets loose.
Oh, my goodness. What's the sound that comes when the moose gets loose?
Yeah! Uncle Will, Montana's strong. Yeah! Let him know, Will.
The moose gets loose.
If you picked up Will Disley, don't play him.
Then why did you pick him up?
Because you made a mistake.
Oh,
People make mistakes.
you could have picked him up to see what happens.
To stash.
All right.
I mean,
but last week, here's the snap count percentage. I believe he was on the field for. Well, him and Fournette were both on the field for the same amount, right around 60% of the snaps. So it could happen.
It absolutely could happen. I'm not saying there's no guarantee, but what I am saying is this is a guy who was brought in to be a run-blocking tight end, and he's surprised in week 1 when the other team was not prepared for Will Dissly. Now that Doug Baldwin is basically known out, you don't think the Bears are kind of prepping for Nick Fournette and Will Dissly is like, hey, we got to.
No.
The Bears gave up 3 points last week to Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a look.
Will
Let's stop
Dissly-
talking about Will Dissly.
Oh, okay.
Let's move on. Look, Russell Wilson started on the road against Denver. Now he goes on the road against Chicago. This defense looked pretty impressive last week, until
the second half.
Until Rodgers' magic. But I don't know if you feel like Wilson is a top 10 guy this week. Do you?
I do.
You're cozy enough?
Yeah,
I mean, he did have a 28-point week last week.
I have him as my quarterback 8. There's no chance that I'm not dropping him for anyone, obviously, but I'm not going to make a waiver claim. This is one
Russell
of those
Wilson or Tom Brady.
Oh, Russell Wilson. I've got Brady at 14 due to the matchup, but this is an example. If you take a look at that, like Tom Brady, there are guys. If I've got a burner spot, I would pick up and play ahead of him. I'm not sure that I would do that with Russell.
This would be my second upset of the week, by the way. I think Seattle can win this game. Tyler Lockett, confidence level. Brandon Marshall, confidence level. What do you think? Are these guys flex plays this week? Is Lockett slide into that wide receiver 2 contention?
Yeah, I've answered a lot of questions between these guys, and the way that I see them is this. I think Brandon Marshall has a higher floor, and this is a team-dependent move. If your team is a favored team, if you've got a good matchup, or you're looking strong, I like Brandon Marshall as a play. If you want to have fun and go nuts and hope for that, week-winning 25-point wide receiver performance, Tyler Lockett is going to be the play where you have the opportunity to have a couple deep bombs, deep bomb touchdowns. So that's how I view them. I want to start both of them this week and see what happens.
On the Bears side, Jordan Howard, you're obviously playing him. Allen Robinson, I guess you're rolling him back out there.
Yes, you are.
What do you think about Tariq Cohen? Can you play him anymore?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
Trey Burton, is this the week that you get a little bounce back action? I mean,
I believe so.
Yo, man, I hope so.
There'll be a lot of tilting, desperate, scared
Yes.
people this week if Trey Burton doesn't give you better production. I mean, 6 targets, I'll take it, but you need 5 catches, not 1.
I will be one of those people.
That's terrified, that's afraid?
Oh yeah, I'm petrified of a 1-for-5 performance this week. That would be worst case scenario, but I do believe he gets it together. I really do.
All right. Well, any other storylines in this game you need to pay attention to?
I'm not loving Chris Carson or Rashad Penny, but if you had to start one, it would still be Chris Carson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Daily Dose, brought to you by Draft.
All right, we're jumping in a draft right now, right here. Let's do it. Is this an expert level draft?
It is. So we're playing on draft.com/ballers, and we're doing the expert because it's the 3 of us, and that means that the top picks are removed.
I'm taking Brandon Cooks with the number 1 overall pick. I think it's a big week for Cooks, and obviously we have to make decisions here beyond the best starts of the week. So I'm taking a shot on the deep ball with Brandon Cooks. Last week, Jason won.
You darn
by
right
3
I
points.
did.
Jason won. I finished second. Mike finished third.
Sam Bradford.
Go to YouTube for the watering video of me watering Mike. It will be delightful. I'm going to take Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is still available. He could play in the wide receiver tight end role, and I think he has a big week this week.
That's an interesting pick there, going tight end to start it off.
So that puts me on the turn, and I'm going to grab the upside play of Josh Gordon in a really high over-under. Like him, going to play more snaps. And then
Start of the week, Mike.
Yeah, Andy's start of the week. And then on the way back, I'm going to take advantage of the breaking news of the show, and I'm going to grab Tevin Coleman.
Oh, that was so smart.
I can't even believe how smart that was. I should have scrolled down and looked, but when we're doing this live, it's hard. I'm going to get a little nuts. I'm going to grab a double stack of tight ends, and I'm taking Travis Kelce in a game that I think there's going to be a ton of points. I'm going Kelce and Ertz for my wide receivers.
Wow.
That's a bold move, Cotton.
I'm going to go with a couple of pass-catching running backs, Chris Thompson and James White in my back-to-back picks. I'm going to to go for those PPR points. Got Cooks.
Man, I'm blown away
Thompson,
right now.
James White
by Jason's tight end stack. I mean, you're freaking me out, man.
you just wait and see. You know, I don't like the matchup of Jamal Williams going to Minneapolis. I always want to say Minneapolis Vikings.
That is where they're going.
It is true,
but not who they're playing.
But I do think he's going to be on the field a lot. I want the Packers upside, so I'm going to take Jamal Williams as my first running back. I still think he's going to. He represents a floor to me. He might not have the same upside,
like a tile floor,
laminate,
carpet,
laminate.
No, we're talking travertine. It's a really nice one.
All right, so that puts me back on the clock at the edge. I'm playing the game. I know that these fellas have to take their quarterbacks, so I'm going to grab mine
first.
I took Cam Newton. I'm taking the upside.
Yeah,
Cam
no
Newton.
doubt. Atlanta.
Speaking of floor, Cam Newton, very high floor. And then Manny Sanders.
Oh, that's a great pick.
At home against Oakland, looked electrifying with Case Keenum. There's a lot of other players on the board, but he's just very intriguing to me.
Yeah,
well,
I don't blame you. I'm going to take a shot at a Tevin Coleman situation. I'm going to draft T.J. Yeldon because I think that Fournette does not play and he'll have value.
I went with Phillip Rivers as my quarterback against Buffalo. Seeing the difference between Flacco against Buffalo and Flacco against the Bengals last night tells me it's going to be bright and sunny for Phillip Rivers. And then T.Y. Hilton.
Wow.
T.Y. Hilton with my final pick. Didn't even realize he was there.
My double tight end's looking worse.
So, yeah, that's not so
Emmanuel
good.
Sanders and T.Y. Hilton.
But as I wrap it up, I have Rivers, Thompson, White, Cooks, and Hilton. Feeling nice. Feeling fine.
So this sucks. Last week, my League of Record team was awesome, but I had to go up against the Pat Mahomes Tyreek Hill stack against Andy and lose.
Yeah.
This week in the Listener League, guess what stack I have to play? I'm playing against
Mahomes,
Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill stack again.
You can't escape it.
So I am drafting Pat Mahomes for my quarterback.
I got you. And I'm rounding it out because it's hard to go against Andy's almost upsets because he hits them so frequently. But I believe that San Francisco is going to handle the Detroit Lions. So I'm grabbing Alfred Morris for some goal line upside.
All right, what's your two final teams? I already read mine.
So I got Cam Newton, Tevin Coleman, Alfred Morris, Josh Gordon, Manny Sanders.
That's a good team.
Yep, I've got Zach. Yeah, I know what you're prepping to say. I got Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, Jamal Williams, T.J. Yeldon, and Pat Mahomes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've got the Mahomes-Kelce stack.
Yes, I do.
So you're just trying to medicate yourself in case something goes sideways elsewhere.
All I know is I won week 1, and I'm probably going to win week 2. So you're just going to have to deal with it. Also, if you want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy football league, look no further and download SquadQL, the only mobile app you need to crush your friends and rivals. SquadQL recommends best starting lineups each week based on your starters, bench players, and free agency pool. SquadQL provides waiver and trade recommendations too. So go to SquadQL.com to download SquadQL for free. It is brought to you by the makers of RotoQL. Check them out, SquadQL.com.
All right, thanks for listening to today's podcast. Hope you enjoyed the matchups and the breakdowns. Have a great weekend.
Yes.
Have some great games. Stay tuned.
Don't forget on Sunday morning, I'll be live answering your questions and getting advice. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.